In response to the Capitol attack that took place on January 6th and the demand for racial justice, we need Congress to pass the For the People Act. This act will not only make voting easier for every eligible citizen, but it will also guarantee that everyone has the means to advocate for themselves. The For the People Act will modernize the way we vote and bring voting into the 21st century. The first step towards equal representation for all is automatic voter registration. When the bill is passed, every eligible citizen who interacts with designated government agencies, such as the Department of Motor Vehicles or a public university, is automatically registered to vote, and voter registration information is electronically sent to officials. Those who don't want to be registered can always remove themselves. This changes the circumstance from opt-in to opt-out, making being registered the easier default option. Oregon and California became the first states to adopt automatic voter registration in 2015. 17 states and the District of Columbia followed in their footsteps, and there has been an increase in registration rates in nearly every one of those states. For those who have not interacted with government agencies or someone whose information has changed since the last time they did so, the For the People Act will allow eligible citizens to register online. The bill does not require people to register online, but does promote the option. For signatures, legislation states that an individual who has their signature on file with a state agency can consent to transfer that electronic signature. They can also submit an electronic copy of their handwritten signature. This bill also allows any eligible individual on the day of a federal election to register to vote and cast a ballot. Voters will be able to register, update registration information, and check registrations all online. 21 states and the District of Columbia have all already passed some form of same-day registration, either on election day, during early voting, or both. The For the People Act also protects against discriminatory and imprecise purges. Voter purges are a large-scale deletion of voters' names from the rolls, often using flawed data. The For the People Act puts new guardrails on the use of interstate databases that have proven to produce deeply flawed data. The act prohibits election officials from using a citizen's failure to vote in a previous election as a reason to remove them. It also requires election officials to notify voters who have been removed, as well as an opportunity to register before an election. Furthermore, the For the People Act supports the restoration of the Voting Rights Act, which was initially signed into law in 1965, but was crippled by the Supreme Court ruling in Shelby County v. Holder in 2013. A separate bill titled H.R. 4 will restore the Voting Rights Act, but the For the People Act expresses that Congress supports it. The Voting Rights Act outlawed the discriminatory voting practices adopted in many southern states after the Civil War. African Americans in the South faced tremendous obstacles to vote, including poll taxes, literacy tests, and other bureaucratic restrictions. The Voting Rights Act is widely regarded as the single most effective piece of civil rights legislation in our nation's history. The For the People Act also intends on restoring the voting rights of people with prior felony convictions. According to a 2020 report by the Sentencing Project, there are around 5.17 million people who are unable to vote due to a felony conviction. This still leaves 1 out of 14 adults disenfranchised due to a current or previous felony conviction. The rights of the incarcerated are often cluttered with misinformation and stigma that prisoners often do not realize that they can vote. Many people in U.S. jails retain voting rights because a majority of those people have not yet been convicted. Vermont and Maine were the only 2 states that allowed all prisoners to vote, but D.C. has recently joined them. Maryland has also reached an agreement that allows voter registration forms to be distributed to inmates. Vermont actively promotes voter registrations within the system. It facilitates the work of volunteers who conduct voter registration drives in Vermont correctional facilities and designates staff to act as voter coordinators. The For the People Act introduces a simple and fair rule. If someone is out of prison and living in the community, they get to vote in federal elections. It also requires states to provide written notice to individuals with criminal convictions when their voting rights are restored. The unforeseen circumstances of this past election year prove that modern-day voting can be easy and efficient. The For the People Act recognizes that voting early and by mail gives a good incentive to the American people. Even before the pandemic, roughly 1/4 of American voters cast mail ballots in the 2014, 2016, and 2018 presidential elections. However, several states continue to place unreasonable restrictions on the ability to vote by mail during the 2020 election. In 28 states, ballots could be rejected for technical defects unrelated to voter eligibility, without any notice or opportunity to correct the issue after Election Day. 8 states required voters to obtain a witness signature or notary to cast a mail ballot, and 5 states continue to require voters to provide an excuse for not voting in person. Currently, some Republican state lawmakers are attempting to pass new voting laws that would make it even more difficult to vote in future elections. States like Georgia and Arizona are cracking down on voting by mail with laws that limit how people can get their applications and where they can return their ballots. The For the People Act creates a baseline standard for access to mail voting and guarantees at least a 2-week period for voting early in federal elections. Freedom to all starts with a voice for all. The For the People Act changes our ways of voting and creates an opportunity for true equality. To learn more about the key measures in the For the People Act, click on the links below.